Hello, my name is Amos Tarfa, and I'll be your instructor for this course. This is a pre-algebra course, the video course that goes in an inspirational mathematics series. In this course, you'll be learning concepts from place value to addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and then we'll flow into some more fractions, decimals, percents, ratios, and proportions. There are 7 mandatory chapters in the course, and there's an 8th chapter that is more of an option because you will be learning those concepts in Algebra 1, and that's graphing. So I'm not as concerned about chapter 8 in this course. I would focus on chapters 1 to 7, learn them well. See, the thing with mathematics is that it's like a house, whereby you need a solid foundation before you then add on to the next layer. So in this first layer, these are the concepts that we're focused on. But the very first concept that we should keep in mind when we deal with this at this level, so this course is especially for people in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. Generally, you should have mastered this concept by 7th grade. But if you're in 8th grade, that's okay if you need to work on these principles, and then you'll flow right into Algebra 1. So in our courses, we do not stop you from moving forward. We'll do the pre-algebra course. Make sure you master the principles of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, fractions, decimals, and percents, and then ratios and proportions. Ratios and proportions. And then you basically move into Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. We actually do them back to back together. Then you do trigonometry and geometry. If you do these well with the course that we've written, you've actually completed all the math you need to do the beautiful field of calculus. Okay, the goal is master these principles so you do calculus. We want everybody to do calculus because calculus is a gateway to many other things in the world of math and science, economics and physics. All of it is, if you have your calculus down, you could tackle almost anything. So please join us in this journey as we master the principles. Today's focus, however, and I apologize, I've written all over the board here, but today's focus, however, is going to be on place value. The very first thing we have to look at is, understanding whole numbers, understanding place value, and that's found in 1.1 in your book. Very first section is an introduction to whole numbers. It'll be a good time to draw a chart here in your notebook, so join me as I draw this chart to explain the types of numbers, and then I'll give you the place value explanation, and I'll land our plane for this lesson. These numbers are called natural numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Starting from 1 to infinity are natural numbers. There's a bigger category of numbers that includes all natural numbers but has one extra number, and that's 0 included. So whole numbers include all natural numbers, including 0, and then 0 added in. There's a bigger category that contains both the natural and the whole numbers, and it's in this category, and they're called integers. Okay, so integers are basically numbers that include negative numbers and positive numbers. Right? If you live in Fargo, North Dakota, or Moorhead, Minnesota, you know that we get negative numbers in our temperature. So you should know about integers, right? So people in the Midwest should probably be a little more advanced in math because they experience some negative temperatures, right? So that's integers, the negative numbers. The bigger category after integers are called rational numbers. So rational numbers include everything here. Think of this like if you are in Moorhead and you are in Minnesota, then you are in the United States, right? Moorhead, Minnesota, United States. So if I say United States, it includes the fact of Moorhead and Minnesota. So that's what this is called. Now, I'm using a sort of a model to show things. You can use Venn diagrams in math. You can use set notation. These are things you will learn along the way. So there's natural numbers, which is like our age when people ask how old are you. There's whole numbers, which includes 0. There's integers, which includes negative numbers. And then there's rational numbers, which is any number that can be written as a fraction or that has a terminating decimal end. So for example, 1/2, that's a rational number. 2/3 is rational. Even though if you were to write it as a decimal, right, it's going to have the repeating. 1/3 is rational, and so on and so forth. The other side of numbers that are irrational would be numbers like pi, right? So if we want to put a category over here and call it irrational, Notice that it doesn't belong with anything else I've done, so that's called irrational numbers. Irrational numbers will be outside of everything here. So this is all rational, there's irrational, and both rational and irrational combined will be called real numbers. So I want you in your notebook to write real numbers include rational numbers and irrational numbers. Irrational almost seems like they don't make sense, but of course in some sense they make sense, but they're weird. Transcendental numbers like is another name we hear for pi. Like these numbers go on forever, but they don't repeat. There's a whole field of mathematics called number theory, okay? And we'll be talking a little bit about that as we go on. When we talk about prime numbers, that's part of that number theory idea. There's some exciting fields of mathematics we don't really get to talk about in classrooms because people are busy trying to do busy work in their homework books, right? We're going to talk about that in this course. If there's an exciting piece of math, we're going to discuss it. And I'm excited to do that with you. So let's talk about place value and then we'll land our plane. In place value, the very first piece, and I actually thought it was interesting, this is an 8th grade math textbook from Nigeria, and it has a first section there on place value. And in place value, you need to understand that the very first thing is ones. We started with the ones place, right? So let's write down this number. Let's actually just do it for whole numbers, okay? So if you have this on the board right now, and someone says, what is the 9? It's in the ones place. What is the 8? It's in the tens place. What is the 7? It's in the hundreds place. This is in the thousands place. So you go ones, right? And then you go tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, billions, 10 billions, 100 billions, trillions. And it's good to understand the perspective. Like when you say trillion, what is in the trillions? Well, the US national debt is in the trillions. That's unfortunate. Some of it is actually driven by student loan debt. And while you're watching this video, especially if you're younger, I really want to encourage you, avoid student loan debt. How do you do that? Get as many college credits as you can starting now, and then make sure you have a plan for your life. Get as many scholarships and opportunities to help you to flourish. That's what we want to encourage you to do. We do not want you to sit there thinking, I'm just going to get to 12th grade and then I'll figure out my life. No, take time now to job shadow. Take time now to read good books. That's a better way to go. You don't need student loan debt. Let's not add on to the national debt, which is in the trillions. The world population is in the billions, right? You talk about 7 billion people. That's in the billions, right? The US population is in the hundreds of millions, about 330 million people. And then we go to places like Nigeria have about 200 million people, even though they're only the size of, like bigger than Texas, smaller than Alaska. So that's interesting, right? Now you get into other topics about how do you use resources in that setting. And that's why we teach economics at LifeSTEM Academy. Okay, so you should know how to compare numbers. And how do you compare them? By looking at their place value to see if this one is in the tens and this one's in the hundreds. So in chapter 1 of our book, we're talking about ordering numbers, knowing how to order numbers and how to work with numbers, right? How to compare numbers. Place value is discussed. You can feel free to do the homework problems. We'll generally be doing the odd problems for our homework, except if your parents want you to do the even problems as well. You should know how to round numbers, right? Rounding up to, for example, if somebody says 8, round up to the nearest tens. Well, the answer is 10. If someone says 28, round up to the nearest tens. The answer is 30. If you say 24, round up to the nearest tens. It's 20. So there's a way to do that, and we'll discuss that in another video as far as using a test digit and what your rounding digit is. Please feel free to read through the examples, practice use the odd problems to practice, and always feel free to reach out to us. We have a place for you to type in your answers, but you can also just do the work in your notebook. We're going to be teaching you how to take notes. I hope this was helpful to introduce you to the world of numbers. There's different types of numbers. This video also introduced you to the different math courses that we're training you for. Notice I didn't write pre-calculus on the board because pre-calculus is actually sum of algebra 2 concept and trigonometry. That's pre-calculus. It's actually, the subtitle is college algebra and trig. And in our school, everybody in Algebra 2 should prepare to take the CLEP College Algebra test. That gives you Algebra 2 credit and college credit. So please make sure you keep that in mind. We'll give you the study skills for testing. Don't worry about that. Just wanted you to be aware. Thank you for watching this video. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. But math has huge applications. And of course, this topic we're talking about today deals more with when you're counting and when you're keeping track of big numbers and pieces like that. That's part of what the application is for what we just discussed. Some of this math that I'm talking about has been used for over 4,000 years, right? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, some of this math we're talking about is the math they would have been dealing with, right? In counting how many cattle or sheep or goats that people had. Thanks for watching. Take care and have a blessed day.